as around their audit that they're currently hopefully doing, or anything that we've covered. Today's session, really, I only have a small amount of content to get through. I wanted to do this little sum up, answer any questions, do a bit of content stuff, and then hand you back some time to really progress through that audit. And of course, you can reach out at any point and get some one-on-one coaching with myself or my colleagues who do some of the marking as well. And we're always happy to have that one-on-one coaching with you. Okay, so I'm going to just read through a few of these and make some comments on them, give out some prizes. Actually, I'll share my screen now, and I will display this. I already noted down some of the prizes. Here are my 6 random ones that I chose. As I said, definitely not the most important, just 6 that I picked. Now, I saw a lot of people talking about visual deceit, and I'm glad that term's resonated. It's certainly an important, and I think it's a very vivid example of what a road safety auditor is trying to do, is to understand how the road user will perceive, consciously or unconsciously, the road environment, and then make their decisions accordingly. So we can then try to redesign that bit of road, or the design for that bit of road, to ensure we don't deceive the drivers. And it's that overarching category, visual deceit, and there's lots of different ways. I mean, the very common visual deceit is that see-through effect, where you don't realise that you're going to have to stop at a give way or a stop sign. Holly in there with longitudinal drains, and that's on the list there, the bicycle-friendly one. So prize coming your way. Not a standards review is a very important one. Great takeaway message. And then that acknowledgement of drivers making mistakes. So Daryl's on there with the threshold levels and incorporating that into the risk matrix, and that was on the list here. So Daryl's got another prize there. And yeah, that's an important one for us to think about. Okay, so we're going to have incidents on the road network. What's the severity of those, and which ones are we saying don't align with our safe system principles? Okay, so lots of visual deceit down in there. Yeah, putting yourself in the shoes of various road users. And I think that exercise we did in the pedestrian one, where we had that intersection, well, it was constructed intersection that had the crossing on the left of the slip lane, and we saw that the serious crash history of pedestrians in that exact one spot. And I sort of walked through there, putting yourselves in the shoes of different road users, making different movements, and really sort of systematically working through that can be a way to really help you identify stuff. The importance of going to the site, absolutely wonderful. Putting yourselves, again, more putting yourselves in the shoes. Engineering a road environment to be forgiving. I think that's wonderful. I mean, that's fundamentals of safe system right there. Diversity of an audit team. I like that one from Adam. It wasn't on my list, but I really do like that. It's lovely if you can do it and have that really rich, diverse audit team. Get some wonderful outcomes. I'll skip through. A number of people talking about nighttime auditing and the importance of that. Now, I'm going to give Chris a prize here, not because he's given one on the list, but he's asked a specific question, and I do want a bit of that, like things that you're struggling to get your head around. And so Chris's question in there is, I'd like to know more about how to identify what is and what isn't safe system supporting treatments and the difference. So how do we make that differentiation? And that is a really great question, because a lot of people have trouble with it, and it's understandable that people have trouble with it. There is some assistance available in some documents, and I'll show you that in just a minute, because I do want to try to help people as best we can get their head around that concept. So thank you, Chris. I'll come back to that. I'll be jumping out of the slides and I'll do that, but I'm just going to read through a few more of them. Lots of different tools available to auditors. Yeah, not check against standards. Underarm protection for motorcyclists, that's a good one. Yep, different value of audits. Benefit cost ratios, so some pretty high benefit cost ratios from those different studies. Somebody in Canada did that PhD on that, I think, and came up with a whole lot of different things as well. Going beyond the scope of the project. Yeah, so Berg talked a bit about, how do we define exactly what is within scope, and then how do we think about how far down the road do we need to go? Nighttime audit team. Oh, and a nice one in there from Deepa, sort of trying to summarize a lot of it, maybe spreading the guess wide to try and pick up one of those prizes. Very good. Okay, thank you very much. That does a few things. It gives me assurance that you are taking away key points from the course. You're able to think about those. It gives me confidence that we're going to send you out there as auditors, and you're going to be able to do some pretty good stuff. So what I want to do is just address Chris's question. Now, hopefully you've seen the learning management system now. And if I go down here, and I actually go down to module 5, okay? Module 5 here. This is what we're in now. So you've got the slides, of course. You've got a little quiz to do. You've got a little link to sign up to the Wakatahi Road to Zero updates. If you haven't already done that, it's good to always, continue to get information from them. I hope you, if you're on LinkedIn, you follow Safe System Solutions, because we do things called Safe System Snippets, lots of little snippets of information around the safe system and safe system assessments and road safety audits and safe system audits and infrastructure design that has issues. What I've done here, even though this is the road safety audit course, I've put in here the Austroads Safe System Assessment Framework. And now this is going to help you, Chris, and others, no doubt. So if we open that document up there, within here, this takes you through how to undertake a safe system assessment. Now, there's lots of specific nuances that sort of aren't written into here, but this is the general concept. And we sort of run through this in the Safe System Assessment course. But if I tick along through here, go down a little bit further, we start to get to some colourful tables. Sorry, here we go. So, table 4.5 here is runoff road crashes. And then it says treatments. So I'll just zoom in on this a bit. Sorry, some of you might be struggling to see this. So then it says treatments. Now, what it has done is listed some treatments. It's not everything, and of course, you'll come up with new things. But you can see here then, the green are what they categorize as primary treatments. And the yellow and the orange are supporting. Now, there was 2 categories of supporting. Most jurisdictions have dropped off these 2 categories of supporting. The idea was that the yellow was this supporting step towards, which meant like you are sort of creating something. The easiest example of this is a wide center line, right? We know that's a supporting treatment because it's not going to eliminate people, head-on crashing and the like, but it does a good job in reducing the amount of that that's happening. But it actually helps you put a centerline barrier system down in the future. So that was the differentiation. Most jurisdictions have abandoned trying to be that nuanced with it. So we see here that the supporting treatments are listed. There are some supporting treatments listed in there. then there are sort of other considerations like enforcement and those sort of things, which aren't really infrastructure related. But then you get it for head-on crashes, and you can see here the green, primary, and the yellow and orange, they're supporting ones. And the next one will be intersections, you can see that, and other crash types, pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists. So that should help you in a number of ways. I mean, it gives you a few ideas of things to think about as possible recommendations, treatments, things to change. But it also helps you in going, okay, I can see how we categorize these. So that's one thing I want to sort of show that will help you. Now that's in the learning management system for you. Yeah, so I've got another question in here. Can you explain a bit more about the relationship among risk, exposure, and frequency in the context of a pedestrian road crossing? Okay. So, in a road safety audit, let's go back to our slides here. In a road safety audit, we're really looking about the chance of a crash and then how bad the crash is going to be. The exposure being the amount of pedestrians exposed to that crash is integrated into the likelihood within a road safety audit in common risk assessment practices. Safe system assessments went a little bit different, and they actually extracted exposure out as its own entity. So it has, you know, the number of pedestrians crossing as one entity, then the chance of crash, so the likelihood, and then the severity. But in a road safety audit, we really look at the chance of a crash being exposure and likelihood together, and then how bad it's going to be. So this is going to be a little bit of an interesting process with the safe system audit in New Zealand, because you're going to start off doing the safe system assessment matrix, and you'll be looking at, just get a pen going here. Yeah, what you'll be looking at, how many people are exposed to a crash. So it could be how many vehicles are there, how many pedestrians are crossing, what are the numbers? And then you're going to multiply that by the likelihood of crash, which is independent of the numbers of people exposed to it. It's about the physical environment that is there. And then you're going to multiply it by the severity of crash. Okay, and that's for the safe system assessment. Right. Then, after you've done that, and you've filled out your initial matrix safe system assessment style, you'll go to individual concerns. And they will be done as, you know, risk equals, you know, likelihood times severity. And you can see there that likelihood is both of those combined. But this is, you'll just use the risk matrix that's there. It's been provided, it's been updated. It's that 4x4 matrix that we showed and you've been using, and it's in the document. So I hope that clarifies a bit. It is somewhat frustrating that there's now these two ways to look at risk in the one document, essentially, for New Zealand. I suppose that's about all I can say on that. But hopefully that helps out a little bit. I'm happy to elaborate further on this if anybody wants to have a one-on-one chat, or if you've got a specific question example that you're working on. Okay. Well, good. Thank you for those questions. And I hope that's helped. But I do welcome anything as we're ticking along. If you want me to delve into a different topic, or as I mentioned, if you're working on a project or doing an audit in the future and you come across an interesting thing or something you would like to know a bit more information about, just reach out and get in contact. We've got many decades worth of audits and studies and information that we're always willing to share. Let me go through a little bit of content while you just have a think about if there's anything else you want to cover. Today is this really interesting one of trying to wrap it all up and talk more about the administration of road safety audits. We spent our first 4 modules there. How do we do road safety? And that's important because you're going to be road safety auditors, safe system auditors, as we'll be calling you in New Zealand. But if you want to do road safety audits in anywhere in Australia or anywhere around the world, it'll be referred to as a road safety audit for the foreseeable future. And you will be qualified to do that. You've got a couple of little hurdles to jump over, but they're more administrative hurdles. Well, you've got the one hurdle of actually completing this course successfully, which will be required. But I'll show you then how to get some formal qualifications out of successfully doing this. So I'm just going to point you at what some of the different jurisdictions are doing, partly for your own interest, because really New Zealand does not have specific accreditation schemes or anything like that. But I think it's interesting to understand and know that other jurisdictions, Australia and well, around the world actually, have different accreditation schemes, lists that specify, who is an accredited auditor and the like. And I'm going to talk about legal liability. Now, of course, I'm going to talk very generally about legal liability, but I think, again, it's something just to be aware of, not to scare you at all, but just so you recognize some of those challenges. So actually, I will start with that. I'm going to start talking about legal liability, and I'm going to probably just give you a few stories of my different experiences with legal cases in a variety of ways, and so you can get a few understandings from that. This one, I was told I have to put a disclaimer here that I am not providing you legal advice. Of course, I'm just giving you a bit of information about possible legal things, and seek legal advice if you are making decisions about your practices. Okay, I've broken this up into what are some of the issues for the auditors. So this is you, once you've got your certificate and you're out there and you're doing audits, what are some of the potential legal issues for you? And then I talk about for the person or the team or the council or whoever it is who are getting the audit done for them. Okay, so let's talk first about the auditor. Client focused. Now that's the general term that's given to, some people call it a soft audit, but let me give you the example that we're particularly concerned about. There's a big new hardware chain that's entering New Zealand, and they want to build 30 massive warehouses in different towns and cities, and each of those is going to need to access onto the arterial road network or local road network, and they come along and they get a road safety audit done because the road controlling authority has required that as part of their development. And David's putting you an idea. No, we're not naming, no naming and shaming people. And okay, and then they engage you as an auditor, and it could be through your consultancy or you as an individual or whatever it is. and they have got a design of an intersection upgrade, and they say, now here's the order. Remember, we got 30 of these coming, and you look after us, we'll look after you, and to make sure there's nothing that's going to cause us any trouble. We're happy to, change a few signs and lines, but certainly don't want to do anything that's going to cost us any money. And now, and of course, I think you can clearly see, you've got your integrity and your professional integrity and your ethics and the like, which immediately flag that as bad practice and something you wouldn't entertain. I did a review of 150 audits for developers in Victoria at one time. I couldn't find clear evidence of anything like this. I saw practice slipping, and you could argue that it's just poor auditing or the like. I'm worried that it was this one is very hard to draw that definitive line across due to the nature of road safety auditing. But yeah, it's just something to be aware of. The next one is a bit, so inadequate brief. Well, you're not writing the brief, are you, for the audit or getting, but what you can identify is if you really have not got the information you need to be able to do the audit. And that's not to say, like, if you don't have the traffic volume and they don't give you the traffic volume, and you ask for the traffic volume and they don't give you it, you can't do the audit, or you're potentially, putting yourself out there legally. I mean, you would make a judgment call on what you believe the traffic volume is, or utilize any databases or systems that you have to get a general idea of it. But, if they don't have that information and you don't, and you can't get it, then that's okay, right? You just note that in the audit and carry on. It's where there's sort of, really major deficiencies in what you've been handed over for the task you're doing. If they say, we want you to do a detailed design road safety audit of this roundabout, and they don't give you a design, and they say, well, we're going to do it in accordance with Austroads and Wakatahi, documentation. So, you know what that generally will be. Well, that doesn't, that's the kind of thing which is just crazy. Now, we don't see really much of that happening. So again, it's not one that we see often. Misleading qualifications or experience. I mean, this goes across all professional, all professions really, doesn't it? In terms of, but this one is around saying that you are a road safety auditor or are a safe system assessor when you haven't done a course, you haven't completed a course, or if you're in another jurisdiction, saying that you're a senior road safety auditor, if you're not on a register or the like. They're not following correct process. Now, day and night, so visiting the site is an absolute. Like, really, there is no road safety audit, no safe system audit where you don't visit the site. That is some sort of desktop review, which can add value to a project. Don't get me wrong, it is a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. But don't try and play it off as a formal road safety audit if you're not visiting the site. Day and night, daytime definitely. Nighttime, there can be circumstances where that's not, that doesn't happen. They should be very rare, but they can be, and that's still in accordance with at least Austroads requirements. But if your client requires you to go there at night as part of the brief or the like, then you have to. And then each company or the like has a quality management system or process, or they have things reviewed. And if you're not following that process, then this is the really interesting one: reasonable assessment. and that just plays out in court. Now, reasonable is that term that you press lawyers and you say, well, what is reasonable? And they say, sort of waffle on about your peers and would people in a similar position be able to identify these, and then they end up sort of saying, well, it just have to play out in court. Yeah, so there are a few of the key, I think, possible legal issues. In most jurisdictions, what I find is that road safety auditors don't get sued unless they are undertaking a road safety audit of a construction site temporary traffic management scheme. Now, I think that's associated with, workplace health and safety legislation and the fact that these workers, worker safety and the like, and it's often these incidents have happened and it's under the control of a company, the area, and they're getting sued and they had an auditor involved, so they take that and try to, implicate the auditor for not having done their job properly and the like. But I've seen road safety auditors on larger schemes be called in as expert witness with their audit, but not sorry, I say larger schemes, I mean actual like road design, construction, when a big, massive contractors suing the road authority for one reason or another, and the auditors sometimes brought in to talk about why they've had to do an alignment one certain way or the other because the auditor recommended that, and then that went through, I don't know, an area of bad soil conditions or something like that, and those sorts of things. But it's not been targeting the auditor in particular for any legal liability as such. It's more just expert witness as to the justifications as to why these changes may have happened. So that's the auditor. Let's talk about the road controlling authority or the project customer, the project sponsor. So this most often is the road authority. So it's either Waka Kotahi or a local government, or this is a private road operator. So this one is intentionally providing an inadequate brief, holding back vital information for the auditors to be able to do their job because it may present issues that you don't want. Okay, obviously that is going to be a big issue. So requesting recommendations. This one surprisingly plays out a lot, where a road safety audit is commissioned because a road authority, road controlling authority, like a council representative or a Waka Kotahi, engineer or designer or somebody has a particular concern and they want it validated. Okay. And the auditor is this independent entity, or the audit team is this independent entity, and you should not be feeding them the things that they are to report. So requesting recommendations is a no-no. Now, I push back when I'm told this has to be in the audit report or the like. If somebody says to me, oh, we're quite concerned with, the site distances at this intersection, I say, okay, thanks. I'll look at that and make a call based on what I feel or what we feel. So, if they're flagging things with me, I'm okay. It's more that this has to be in their style thing, or they get the draft report and they say, this, you've got to write this into here. Well, now, occasionally in my career, they've come back and they've said, have you considered this? It's not appearing in the audit. Now, sometimes I absolutely had considered that. We as a team have discussed it and we said, we are not putting that into the audit report because we do not believe it's going to present death or serious injury in the future. Sometimes, occasionally, we've had the case where, well, actually we missed that, right? Now, as you do more and more audits and you get more comprehensive with it, there's less of that. But yeah, certainly I then say, oh, well, we'll recheck that. Now, in the New Zealand process that you've got in the Safe System audit newly released document, you have that that meeting before the report is tabled. So you'll be able to talk through your findings and they might alert you to things. So this, in my mind, it's a bit more of a friendly process that you'll be going through working with the with your clients on that. Okay, duty to consider recommendations. Now, keyword there is consider. You do not, as a client, as a receiver of a road safety audit report, have to do everything they recommend. I think we've stressed that quite well throughout this course. You can accept it, you can reject it, you can defer it. You just need to consider it and document it. Of course, if you're going to reject a finding, well, you could do a few things. You can say, hey, I agree that that is an issue. We are not going to do what you have suggested, though, to lessen the risk. Instead, we're going to do this. Perfectly adequate. As long as there's some professional sort of judgment as to that, will also treat that risk. You could say, we disagree that this is an audit finding. We disagree with the risk. We don't believe it's an issue. Here's our justification. Also absolutely legitimate. I always do say, and this has happened, I'm not sure I 100% agree with this, but it has happened legally where a road authority has rejected audit findings, and then they have been heavily cross-examined associated with why they believe that they are better placed to make judgment calls on what road safety issues are there compared to this senior road safety auditor who is qualified to undertake road safety audits and look at risk on the road network, whereas this person is a general project manager. They don't have any particular road safety experience, any particular qualifications in road safety and judgment of what road risk there is on the road network. So in one sense, I agree with that because the auditor has been engaged because of their ability to look for these specific things that we've been talking about for the last 5 modules and looking for that and using those skills. The one I sort of, that project manager hopefully utilized their internal resources in terms of road safety expertise, got their road safety engineer or get advice from others and have put that sort of back together. So that's the bit that I kind of disagree with it. They should be able to make that call where it's warranted. Means of prioritization. So this is one that played out as I was in government at one point, and road safety audits, this is about 15 years ago maybe, road safety audits were well established and lots more people were getting to know the audit process. And the powers above said, road safety is important to us. We know road safety audits are valuable. we want road safety audits done of all of the arterial road network in Victoria. Now that, we do these existing conditions road safety audits, which aren't a thing really in New Zealand. You do different studies for this. But anyway, then there was a program of sending the consultants out to do these road safety audits. And I mean, it was just party time for the consultants. There was so much auditing going on. It was insane. And sort of a halt was put to that, maybe about 5% in, 10% in, because there were just thousands of issues coming in, like just humongous amounts. The audit reports were just piling up with issues. And the thing was that there was no good means of prioritization of any of this. Okay, it helped that they came with risk ratings, but even that, the number of high risks were just like absolutely swamping any available funds to fix these, and it was just a mess. So the ability to take these and prioritize and actually have a line at funding and programs where these could be addressed is important. The bulk of, New Zealand it's much better because it's associated with projects, and those projects may have they'll have funding available with, so that's all part of the process you'll go through. So Bruce has made a comment in here. Otherwise, network managers do undertake road safety audits of existing arterial network. These are few and far between. We tend to have moved to a reactive approach nowadays. Yeah, so it is I think it's a good point. It's sort of a lot of the thinking of a road safety audit is still done by people proactively looking at the network in the particular lens. May not be written up as a formal audit, but sometimes it sounds like it may have been in the past. It's interesting these days. There are now these sort of filtering tools, and you've got your whole network there, and then you can kind of filter it down with things like your different RAPs, like road assessment programs, or your Kiwi RAP and these sort of or IRR. These are big network-wide risk assessment tools. I mean, to a degree, this is just a little secret between us. AADT and speed, that pretty much gives you the same result as most of this. Like 80% of the score of an IRR or a RAP is the AADT and the speed. Anyway, depends how precise and how many, tens of millions of dollars you want to spend to get another 10% or 20% accuracy. But then, so that's how we can sort of filter some of the network down. And then you sort of get into then your next session. You might look at crash history. You might look at, other things in here. Yeah, crash history is the reactive way to do it. It may be other particular out of context curves or something like that. And then you sort of write down there into the road safety audit and safe system assessment, or the specific, detailed pinpoint study of the of that environment, because it's detailed. It takes time. You're in the process of it. It's not a quick exercise. You could walk out the front of your house or your office or wherever you are, do one block, and you will find 10 things that you could potentially put into a road safety audit report. So you do the whole network, and it's just endless. And then a reasonable process. Again, the road authority has held into account as reasonable process. And my biggest flags for road controlling authorities here is, when do you get road safety audits done or safe system audits done? And I say this because seeing this one play out. Local government, they have lots of projects going on. And it is just ad hoc as to which have a road safety audit done at design stages. And it often just depends on who the project manager is. So one project manager did the road safety audit course, they know the process, they think it adds value, they do it. Another project manager doesn't have time for any of that stuff, just wants the concrete poured. And so they don't do any of these extra bits and pieces, okay? So these then, off they go and they're doing these projects, and then there's an incident. The question is, well, why wasn't an audit done? Because the roundabout there had a road safety audit as part of the design process. The roundabout there didn't. Same sort of road environment, same general cost. Why? And it's a fair question to ask, and that is not a reasonable process. So in the Austroads Guide to Road Safety, Part 6, at the back of it, we wrote a template road safety audit and safe system assessment policy. Why did we do that? Because we want local controlling authorities especially to be able to easily have a policy that says, right, if the project's total capital investment cost is more than $2 million, we will do a road safety audit at these stages. Or if we have done an assessment of the risk, or if it's in a high-speed road environment, we'll do it always, or whatever it is. Now, that one's got a particular way of sort of determining that, but it just provides that clarity. We're not saying that every time you do a splitter island, you need to do a road safety audit, although that can often be good. But it's about having a clear policy and consistency for the road controlling authority on when you will undertake these different assessments. Okay. So I think that covers off the legal liability issues. Happy to so that's, let me give you a real world example on that one. Again, I was in a road authority and I was managing road safety engineering for the state, and road safety audit sat within that. And we really, at the time, hadn't thought a lot about developer funded works. So this is where that Bunnings or IKEA or Masters or, Costco or whoever's accessing the road network, but also, massive subdivisions accessing onto the arterial road network. And we had our usual checks that we would do. So the traffic engineers of that region would have a look at it and off they go. We didn't require road safety audits of that back in the day. It just, I don't know, we just hadn't thought of it. And, we knew the road safety audit process to a degree, and we were doing it for our projects, but not for these ones, because they were kind of slipping outside. They're in the planning, and then they got a bit of a check anyway. And, and we had a incident where a large subdivision was built and the turn lane in had some really significant deficiencies, and somebody was killed. And so that one, I had a number of days in the coroner's court being grilled about the process of road safety auditing and why it wouldn't apply to a developer or developer funded works that are changing the way that the arterial road network is being used. And yeah, we did not have good answers. And of course that changed the process, but tragically that, it was too late that process got changed. So we want to see that anything that's changing the public's use of the road network in areas where it has risk associated with it, of magnitude. Like, as I say, you're going out and you're changing dull signs to proper reflective signs, probably doesn't warrant a full-blown road safety audit by an independent road safety auditor. But if you're changing or designing new turn lanes on a 100-kilometre-per-hour road, I think that absolutely warrants somebody with this particular lens looking at it. Yeah, so that was a pretty disturbing all round, that developer one. And the coroner's process worked in the sense that it majorly changed the processes. But yeah, you always hate to have an incident like that in order for that change to happen. But hopefully others can learn from it. Okay, how are we going here? What's our time? Well, probably I have actually might be time for a stretch break, fill the coffee up break now. Let's just take 4 minutes now. I feel like a coffee myself, so I might get that going, or a refresh of my coffee. So let's come back to it in 4 minutes. Okay, so the final thing, well, depending on time, I might give you just a couple of extra examples of some audit sort of findings, again, just as things for you to have a quick think about. The last thing I want to talk about, though, is road safety audit accreditation and being able to sort of say, I am a road safety auditor, I'm a qualified road safety auditor, I'm an accredited road safety auditor, or pre-qualified road safety auditor, or all different in different jurisdictions. So for New Zealand, though, there is no official register, no official qualification scheme. Having completed this course and holding a certificate of successful completion after we mark your assignments and everything like that is enough sort of status to say that you are a road safety auditor. But different jurisdictions here have different particular schemes. A quick question's popped in there. How many issues do we need to find in the final road safety audit exercise? 3. Great question. Just 3. Written up really well using that issue, crash that can happen, risk factors, standards and guidelines if applicable. We want to see them well formed, well thought through, a snip of the design or a photo from the site, and the risk rating and the recommendation. So, you know, the 3 really quality ones. If you come in with 15 issues, you will get no extra marks. In fact, yeah, well, actually, I was going to say you get more chance of losing marks, but I don't think that's the case because we'll only read the first 3. So that's where you're going to get marked on your first 3 that are in there. So 2 is for the desktop 360 assignment. So the desktop one was only 2 findings. The full one is 3, and it's there are 3 pages in the template for you, 3 blank ones for you to fill out, and it's only 2 for the desktop 360 Montrose roundabout removal and traffic signals. So hopefully that clarifies that. How about if we have only found 2 things? Okay, if you're really struggling to find a third, it's sometimes possible. I suggest you just shoot through an email and we might steer you to some other things to have a look at. They may be low risk ratings, but yeah, I mean, I having had a very brief look at every design there that's been either created for you or an existing one, I certainly wouldn't have trouble finding a handful of issues on each, or things, that, as I say, they may not be high risk, but there's certainly things in there. So if you're really struggling, shoot us an email, say, I can only find 2 issues. Can I get a bit of a hint on something else to look at? And we can just email you back a few things to look at. Or if you're really struggling all around, or you don't know what to do, or you're feeling overwhelmed about it, just say, could I please have a one-on-one catch-up about the audit assignment, and then we'll organise that. We'll have a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting, and we'll talk you through, and we'll help you and remind you of the process we're going through. So just briefly, some other jurisdictions. A lot of jurisdictions talk about a road safety auditor and a senior road safety auditor. In New Zealand, you're going to talk about lead. Somebody will be the lead, and they should have that 10 years experience, and it's written into the new safe system audit guidelines. But in different jurisdictions, you'll actually be accredited as these particular things: road safety auditor, senior road safety auditor. And They generally require professional experience. Most are around the 5 years to get to that senior status, and then a number of audits that you've done. So I won't go through that in detail, but the levels are senior and road safety auditor. And generally, you're required to have completed a course, such as this one, have some experience in road safety audit engineering, design, traffic management, or road user behaviour. And to get to that senior status, you need those 5 years experience and 5 road safety audits to be undertaken. So I've popped in here just again an example, the vrsa.com.au. If you want to register yourself and be able to say, I'm a registered road safety auditor in Victoria, you are welcome to do it. The one little trick is that you need to put in an Australian address. Okay, New Zealanders are perfectly adequate to go in if you've got this certificate, but you can just use the Safe System Solutions address if you'd like. What's the salary like for both levels? Well, you've got to negotiate that one yourself. So yeah, just use the Safe System Solutions address. You can find it on our website if you want to do that. So the website is vrsa.com.au. It stands for victorianroadsafetyauditors.com.au. I'll take you to it. Now, I actually set this up, about 12 years ago, I think it was. It's a sort of standalone off the Victorian government website. People got very angry at me, but I was like, it's going to take like a year to get a new page on the official government website. Stuff like that. Just do it. Standalone. It'll take a week, and it did. And it still remains. Anyway, the point being, you have to agree and continue to this disclaimer. What does the disclaimer say? It says, hey, there's a big list of auditors here. We can't guarantee any are any good. We just guarantee that they have done an approved course, that they have experience, and that they've done a certain number of audits. And nobody has done an in-depth review of the quality of their specifics. Okay? Then you get in there, and the first thing you'll do if you want to is to register for accreditation, and then it'll take you to here and you'll register for road safety auditor accreditation, unless you happen to have already got a big bank of road safety audits done, and then you could go for senior status, and then you put in your information. You can hide information from the public if you don't want people to see it. Such as your email address or the phone number or the like, or even your name if you want it. Then, after you've done all that, you upload your certificate and they process it and check it. And then you've got the ability to log in after and add more information and then change it. So the other thing is that anybody can go and search for auditors using their system. And so that's publicly, they search for an auditor and it comes up with this, name, organization. So you could search for an individual, or you could search for somebody with particular expertise in a different stage of auditing for a different road user or particular thing. So, it could be you want a motorcycle audit for detailed design stage, and you click that, you see who has put their hand up as saying, yeah, I can do that. Now, take this with a grain of salt, because there's a lot of people who just tick everything because, why wouldn't they? They don't want to miss out on that opportunity. And there's nobody checking any of that. So anyway, you get this big list of auditors. The name, you can click on the name, organization, email address, phone number, Status is just often, like you can see here, Terry's pending because either he's just put in his application and they're reviewing it, or he's put in more information or something, or it's triggered that he needs to do an audit to stay as a senior auditor, and he hasn't done that, so they'll have it pending until he uploads information about the audit that he's done. Anyway, so let's find, where am I? There you go. Let's click on me. I'll show you. So active senior road safety auditor, contact details and information. Actually, this is a bit old. I snipped to my slide, but anyway. A little bit of relevant professional experience. Now, again, you can hide this from the public, but it's in there if you want. Auditor expertise. Now, I have been auditing for a very long time, but even still, I refuse to say that I am good at worksite traffic management, TTM style audits. I have colleagues who are good at it, but yeah, I don't. The rest I've done, well, I've done quite a few of. Regions available to work, that's just an internal sort of Victorian thing of, you know, where you're willing to work, or if you say, I only want to work in Eastern Victoria, I don't want to. And then, you know, what do you see? What do people see in terms of your experience auditing? Well, this is the information that the public sees. You know, the audit was Phillip Island. I was the senior auditor and team leader. That's the date of it. Client was Vic Roads, and it was a stage 1 feasibility bike. So that was a, you know, high level conceptual idea of a separated bike facility. And you see, you know, just lots of that. There is no uploading of the actual physical audit, even behind the scenes. You simply put in all the information about it, and they may decide to request the documentation at some point. You're going to upload a copy of this certificate from this course. So that's it. That's how to register, vrsa.com.au. So make a note of that if you're interested in getting that formal qualification from that. The other one you can do is the South Australian government. They accept this course. Again, successful completion of it. Theirs is a little more clunky. You download a Word form, you fill it out, and then you send it in with your certificate, and then eventually they update their PDF. And their PDF is, click here to download their PDF. They call it a pre-qualification. And the Queensland government accepts this course as well. Theirs is a little bit of a mix. They have, in terms of what to do, again, you download a form, you fill it out, you send it in, but they publish all theirs right on their website. And recently, the New South Wales government has just accepted this course. We only applied recently. And again, this one's more elaborate. You create a login. It's a bit more like the Victorian one. You fill out a lot of information, you upload your certificate, and then they process it. So if you're interested in any of that, you can get on there. You can really start to get accreditation across a number of jurisdictions. Just go like that. Stop sharing. I'll see what we've got in terms of questions and time. Okay, can you get accredited with no audit history and just the qualification? Yes. So the only jurisdiction that requires you to have actually done audits to get your entry level, you know, you just road safety audit accreditation, is Queensland. Everybody else accepts that you've got to start somewhere, and they entry level you in as a road safety auditor. So Victoria, for example, you just need to have completed the course and generally be working in the field of road safety engineering, road design, traffic management, or the like. You've got to actually have some professional link to that. But you don't need to have any years of experience or anything like that. That'll get you entry level. You won't be able to progress up to a senior status or somebody who could lead a road safety audit team for at least 5 years worth of experience and 5 years of audits. But if you are somebody who's got, quite a significant history in road design or traffic engineering or the like, you can get entry level in there, and then all you have to do is complete 5 audits and then submit the information about those. And if you did that in the next 10 weeks, then you would qualify to jump up to senior auditor status. So you've got to have, to get to senior auditor status, you've got to have that experience in industry for 5 years at least, but then a number of actual audits, and then they take those into account. Is there a typical time period to complete audit? So my rules of thumb are, and this is just sort of, okay, so I'll always talk to a client about a 2-week turnaround on a road safety audit. Now, it does not take 2 weeks full-time work for most road safety. So this is for a new roundabout or a, upgrades of a stretcher, small stretch of road. I mean, if it was road safety audit, a new 10 kilometres of new motorway or something like that, big, different, a whole massive different exercise in its own right. But generally, most schemes, new set of signals or new section of bike path or like, I have 2 weeks. And that's generally because you've got to get yourself organised and you've got to get a team together and you've got to, coordinate when you're all free to meet on site and find an evening. And so that's all good. You're going to need a day or so to work through the plans and chat about those. And you're going to need to go to the site, spend a few hours at the site. My common practice is we meet out there around sort of 3 o'clock-ish, generally to try to get the after school rush. So you sort of looking around the site, you see it get busier around the 3:30 period. Most of the network gets a bit busier around that time. You watch that and then sort of stay around. And then we tend to go sit down, have dinner somewhere and talk about what we've seen, start writing things up, start debating things over dinner. It's dark, then we go back, have a look at the night. Usually the night time is sort of adds maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, because you've done the bulk of the checking. You're just trying to see if anything else pops out. And then, you take all of that away, write it up, others review it. So, somebody will probably usually take the lead in writing a lot of it, or you might split up the findings amongst the team members. And then there'll be reviewing of it, and then you hand it over. So, it takes 2 weeks to get a site inspection traffic management plan approved. Okay, so yes, you might, depending on how your circumstances are as to what approvals you need to get out there. I'll leave that to you to work out. Does it count if you attend as an observer? Yeah, so most jurisdictions don't count that as a formal part of an audit team. It's just giving you experience and getting to know the process. You actually have to be a road safety auditor and be listed as an auditor in order for it to qualify as one of your 5. Okay, getting some free advice from Glenn around the generic TMP and getting that signed off. Lots of good info there. Okay, that's good. There's probably about 12 minutes before I wanted to sort of wrap it up to give you time to finish off your your audit. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to very quickly show you a couple of examples I think are quite interesting. And then I'm just going to show you how to finish off the course in the learning management system. But just give me a second here. I'm going to share my screen. Just a couple of quick ones. Again, learnings for different reasons. Okay, here's a road, and a colleague and I, well, we were asked to go out there and do a post-opening road safety audit fairly quickly. And they said, yeah, there's something going on out there, and we need somebody to have a look at it. There's people are quite concerned. And we sort of thought, well, okay. And so this one, we sort of got ourselves together pretty quickly and got out there. And here's what you see on the approach. It's an 80-kilometre-per-hour road. It's been 80 kilometres per hour for about 5 kilometres. You can see barrier line here, no overtaking. No overtaking, yes, a barrier line. And you can see a bit of a crest, and there's something far off in the distance. Let's go forward a little bit. You can see the overtaking opportunity now comes. You can see there's something going on down there. Don't worry about that. That was our car that we got out there in. We just tried to park it away from traffic. And so, you're ticking along. Maybe this is your opportunity to overtake if you've been stuck behind a truck or something for a while. Let's keep going a bit further forward. Okay, there's some speed sign there. It's a bit covered. It's probably an 80. It's been 80. Something else is going on off in the distance. It looks like roadworks or something. Let's go a little bit further forward. Okay, it's a 60. All right, that's interesting. Let's go a little bit further forward. Traffic hazard ahead. Okay, and this is interesting. We've got an island there. Let's go a little bit further forward even. Okay, there's that traffic island, and that doesn't look good. It's getting hit a lot. So my colleague and I stood out there scratching our head as to what on earth what's going on here. And sometimes it takes you a little bit of time to understand what is going on here. Oh, we've got a Ishan's raised hand. Is that? I'm going to allow to talk. I'm not sure if that was an accidental hand up, Ishan, or if it was intentional. You'll be able to unmute yourself and talk if you want to. Oh, mistake. That's fine. Anybody who does want to talk, I welcome you to pop your hand up. Anyway, finally twigged to us, there's something going on here. This is odd. And well, first of all, when you're approaching a turn lane like this, you shouldn't really have to deviate significantly out of your way like this. Lateral deviation shouldn't be that sharp on this approach. And in fact, usually we get a straight run through on this approach. Second of all is you do not provide overtaking opportunity on the approach to a physical aisle or a turn facility. That's just weird and wrong. So we're looking at it and scratching our head, what is going on here? Came back at night. Well, we'd by this time worked out what was going on here, and that's how it looked. So extra badness in terms of there actually is a street light there. It just doesn't work. So that's, or it's not been switched on or like that. So adding further insult to injury. Anyway, we sort of looked at it and we went, well, okay, that's the setup we would expect. You see a straight run through here. You see that this one gets slowly deviated out around as vehicles slow down, and you can have that. Well, what's happened here? And we finally twigged that they've just sort of flipped it over. They've flipped the design over but then you sort of think, why? Is that a mistake? Did they stuff something up in CAD and do that? And then, we looked further and we finally twigged, no, they got services running along here. And this is big subdivision, and they just didn't. They didn't want to pay to relocate services and widen the road on the side that it needed to be. So they just sort of created this new setup. Now this one, we didn't wait that 2 weeks to write the report and get it reviewed and everything like that for the particulars. We said, you've got to come out here and do something immediately. You know, they put in temporary traffic management for the time period until they scoured it out and they reset. But that was again discovered that there was no road safety auditing in this whole development application scheme, and that was a failure in process. And then you see the results there, and it's going to be a big cost in this case for the road authority because they approved everything. The designers and the traffic engineers for the developer should hang their head in shame. However, that's how it sort of worked out. But I think then, I mean, so Dale said that somebody's done that, and this is where we need people to ideally in the road authority be able to pick these issues themselves, but also have understanding of this process that independent audits add value and they can see these things, and we should be rectifying before we get to that, before we get to these stages. So yeah, so there's lots of issues in that. Absolutely, I've seen people seeing Powerball issues and the like. Couple of other little ones, just as I'm ticking along here. Anytime you use a regulatory speed sign, there is a very subtle clue to a driver that their road continues on. So we don't want to see that. This one is the one I see a lot of. And it really annoys me. If it was foggy at night, the driver's distracted, that 80, and they see that, their mind will immediately think that their road continues unchanged, because that's what we do. You sign these roads that continue on. So there is no reason to sign that there. If you're trying to say that the road they're about to turn onto is 80, well, you sign that on the road after they've turned down there. You don't sign it on the approach to a stop sign. So that's actually a road safety audit issue in my mind. That's a road safety issue. Be aware of barrier end terminals and barriers and barrier technology, and there is so much technical nuance with barriers. I run a 3-day course with a colleague on barrier design and barrier specifics, because there's that much to cover. So I just stress heavily, if you have a road safety audit that you're involved in and it contains barrier systems, make sure there's someone in your team who knows about barriers. I won't go through that one. You know, lots of end terminal things. We don't do that one. We don't do that one anymore. We don't do that one. We definitely don't do that one. Fishtail. And that's why we don't do them, because they spear vehicles. Oh, that's it. Another. Okay, I'm gonna stop there, I think, because it could be sort of 6 days later and we're still talking about particulars. I do enjoy it and happily have a chat with you at any point next time I'm in New Zealand, or if you want to have a Teams meeting, we can talk about any aspects of road safety auditing. Now, I'm going to just show you how to finish off this course in the learning management system. I thought those were a couple of things I just wanted to share with you here. So, okay, so of course you're going to upload your where is it? So complete your road safety audit and site visit. That's the big one. You got to do that. You got to complete all of the other quizzes, do that desktop assignment. You know, there's a bit to do. If you're a bit behind, you're going to start rolling up the sleeves and getting onto it. Finish today's quiz. Then you see this feedback and certificates. You see here, the feedback one is a hyperlink. The certificate one is not. And it's not because I haven't, or whoever this is, haven't finished all of their quizzes and everything like that and done the feedback for it. You need to finish all the quizzes, upload your assignments, have it all marked, do the feedback form, which is for us so we can continue to improve this course and change things we need. Then your certificate will release and you'll be able to download a copy of it. If you want your certificate with a different name on it or something like that, or it's spelt wrong, or you want an official name on there or something like that, just let us know and the team can easily change that and create it for you. You will be sent a hard copy of the certificate in the post as well, with any prizes you've won along the way and a little thank you note and the like. So that'll come in a few weeks' time, depending on how the postal system goes. A question from previous class: why are motorcycle underrun or underguards are not installed on the terminals? Okay, great question. So the terminal of a barrier system is a specific device which is tested. It's got 8 particular crash tests that are required, different angles, front, back, like that. No proprietary manufacturer has done those tests with an underrun system connected, because it costs them, it's probably $1.5 million to do those tests all around. And if there is a failure, they have to start at the start again. And these are, multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies we're talking about. They have not assessed that the market's worth it for them to do that. So at the moment, nobody's tested. It just hasn't been tested. And why is that important? We don't know what will happen if a car hits the end of the barrier system, the terminal, and whether that underrun protection would spear the vehicle, would compromise the concertinaing of the end terminal. So it's just an unknown. And so at the moment, we just say we don't want that done. If you've got a concern for motorcycles, we tell you to extend the barrier system further so that you get an underrun protection at that point. Can we share the extra slides? Yeah, I'll upload them to the system. I'll make a note of that. The crash investigation course is a good one. So it's predominantly targeted at any road controlling authority individuals that are required to do the fatal crash investigation. So if there's been a fatal crash or a serious injury crash, sometimes road authorities do a serious injury crash investigation, but it's more common for fatal. And it's looking more holistically at that. So it does cover off, factors that potentially influence that crash in the road environment. It also does a very sort of in-depth energy analysis in terms of the inherent risks of the area. So yeah, it might be some signs and lines issues, confusing, see-through effects, some of the stuff we've covered today. But it also then goes into understanding the information you can get from the vehicle in terms of what are the, looking at a crashed vehicle, what are the intrusions and the like. A lot of road authority people don't get to see the vehicle, but you often get to see the police report. You might get photos of the vehicle. Some jurisdictions are now doing more holistic fatal crash investigations where the road authority will work with the police together. They'll look at the vehicle together. This is not at scene, at time of crash investigation. So we still acknowledge the police. The police are the ones that will do that, where there's still, a crashed vehicle at scene, emergency services all there. The police will start their immediate crash investigation. That is not this course. This course is for the one that comes, in the next few days or within a week or so after, to check what contributing factors did the road environment have? How can we holistically look at this and linking that together? And then how do we create reporting that doesn't just help this particular situation, but understands, was there a systemic crash issue here? Could it occur at other locations? Are there particular features? So we sort of delve into that. We do give you some information about vehicle crash specifics, understanding some terminology around intrusion and scrape and yawing and those sort of things. So you get a bit of that. A number of case studies around, holistically looking at the vehicles involved, the road and the road environment, people. So that's the kind of one. That's the crash investigation course. Okay, so that's the way you finish off this course. But I think that if there's no more particular questions there, I'll give you the next 25 minutes or so to get yourself significantly progressed with this finalising the course. So finish your quizzes, finish your assignments, really get stuck into that road safety audit. A couple of final words from me. When you finish the course, you get a certificate that says, successfully completed a road safety audit course. I really want you to just take that as something that you can go and talk to people about things that you see in their designs in the road environment that possibly present death or serious injury to our community. And that's what this is what it's all about. All right. We've got a lot of our community being involved in things that affect their lives significantly, their families' lives, their community, and we, using just the process that you've been given, your technical knowledge, can start to address some of this in our practice, and it's a very rewarding thing to do. And I do feel, as a road safety auditor, you have a next level of responsibility in terms of road safety. I know you're all passionate people about trying to do the best we can for our community. It goes up to another level when you're holding a road safety audit qualification. So be that champion for road safety in your organisation and pushing people in their projects to do better, to make sure we're not just leaving risks out there. So thank you very much. As I say, keep in contact. When you do get your certificate, feel free to share it on social media and tell people that you're successfully completed the course. Follow us, as I mentioned, Safe System Solutions on LinkedIn if you're on that platform, because we do share a lot of information. We'll put that in an email at some point. And thank you very much. I know how busy it is at the moment. Everybody's crazily trying to get things done, and you've taken time out of your busy schedule to learn a few things, and hopefully you'll be able to utilize this and do lots of audits into the future. So thank you very much. Keep in contact, of course. Any info you want, if we've got it, we'll send it to you. We'll point you at different people around the world who have done different projects on things if you want, and really enjoyed it. Wonderful input, great assignments. Loved your research assignments too. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.